Okay.
On your way where?
I'm gonna need it here so that I don't bump it.
What do you need here?
Mic instead of here because it really bump.
Okay. We are live, by the way, but yeah, that's neither here nor there.
Oh, why didn't you say?
Hey, I just said.
Oh wow, guys! Welcome to the coffee table.
Welcome. This is our first live session. Well, technically second because there's a conversation I had with Sister Kwalo while we were getting
technically
ready.
third because I think we tried this live thing once.
Okay. Either which way, we're here.
We're back.
Yes, we're back. I think we should try and make this either fortnightly or.
No, I think I like this live thing.
I don't know. I don't
know if we can sustain this.
Yes.
Weekly as yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, look forward to you guys having a bit of our lives. We do have on-set assistants today.
Yeah, we've got the lovely Sister Kwalo
in the house.
But Sister Kwalo is not here to help us.
No, she's here for work.
Yes. Yes.
She's here for work. So in studio, we would have this week had our favorite
DJ Tsu.
But due to work
commitments, he was
unable to be with us. But you can look forward for something pretty soon.
Because we'll have a discussion about something we all know.
Yes. I think
we've touched on.
We've touched on in terms of reviews, but now we're moving it to its secondary platform.
Yeah.
Or should we call it? Is it a spin-off? Is it a what? I get it. What do they call it in the thing?
And inspired by something.
Yes.
That's
what they said it was.
And inspired by something.
So that's what we would be doing. And today we're going to do a bit of lit buzz. And we've come up. There's quite a bit that's been going on in the literary world. Some we've missed, some we've been unable to tell you. But we did pick up this past week.
Yeah.
This past week has been Human Rights Week. Well, it's Human Rights Month.
That and Friday was Human Rights Day.
Yeah.
But Mzansi, we have public holidays and people don't.
They don't know it. They don't get it.
It's not even. I don't even think that they don't get it. I think one of the biggest problems is that a lot of our public holidays, and I put it in air quotes, even in school, I don't remember having whether it was one period, 10 minutes, where it's like, okay, it's going to be a public holiday on Friday.
We have a human rights.
This is what this is about.
I don't even think people know that we have a human rights festival in Johannesburg at what's this place called? Constitution Hill.
Yes.
Every year they host a human rights festival. And poets, if you're listening, and writers too, it's an entire event. It's for activists, it's for poets. They have a market.
Weren't you there?
I was there a couple of years ago.
Yes, I remember with that
Poetic Soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is I remember.
Yeah, I was there. No, that's a different one.
That's a different one?
That's a different one. That's the Nirox thing. And that was for Workers' Day.
Yeah, Papa.
So, the Human Rights Festival with Poetic Soul, we're invited by Nolu Memese, who works there. And because she's from Port Elizabeth.
Okay.
She actually did the constitutional literacy workshop I went to in November, last November. So same girl, she invited us, and we went over there, and Poetic Soul performed. And in that year, she performed alongside Abo Lebu Mashila on stage. There's a girl, Natalia Mulebatsi, who's a poet. She sounds American. Okay. I think she's got Sotho Botswana descent, but she sounds very American because she's lived overseas. So I mean, Nabo, it was a very nice mix of poets.
I like
who considered national and international.
Here's my thing, man. This might be a silly statement question. Yeah. on Women's Day, is there like
an International Women's Festival or something?
Female poets.
Well, in Port Elizabeth, there's something called the Women's Mañana that is hosted by the Mandela Bay Theatre Complex.
Okay.
So that entire lineup is female-based productions. So it'll be female-based theatre productions. It'll be poets. It'll be female musicians. It's an entire festival lineup of beautiful women, and majority of the time it focuses on women in Port Elizabeth and in and around the Eastern Cape.
Okay.
Or people who are born and bred here but are of national...
Placed in different places, right? Okay, that's cool. I think for me personally, one of the things we've had discussions on when it comes to the arts in the metro is that if you're not in the loop,
you don't know.
You don't.
And I think maybe perhaps we need to look as a podcast in the artistic space, even though we're literature, we should look...
art, but continue.
I did say.
Yes, continue.
Podcast in the artistic space for literature. We're predominantly literature based, but things that happen in theaters do affect us because, you know, theater productions are literature first before they are actually performed. So I think maybe we need to look into having that as a...
either as a segment or something we...
Yes, we need to look into segments. But anyway, so there's something about Iziga Museum as well.
Yes.
I mean, they had the free sites.
Yes.
For Human Rights Day. Internationally, I bumped into Poetry London Prize.
Yes, you were telling me that.
And I think this is a really great thing for poets. Submissions opened on the 15th of March. They close on the 30th of June. So look out for...
Mr. Kwalo, this is for you too.
Yes.
Yes.
As a poet, please.
Yeah. Put something in there.
You know.
I'm not sure if I'm enjoying this thing of being silent, but I'll try.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
Why do you think I mentioned your name?
Being absent, I'm like, okay,
no, so Sister Carlo, that's where we are. And I mean, I think it's very nice that it's international. I think it was like 5.
You said 5K for the
5K,
first?
but international
currency. I don't know what international currency is going to be, whether it's dollars, pounds, yen.
I think it was in pounds. It was either in pounds or euros. I can't quite remember, but I did see the poster. You can look out for
which country?
Poetry Prize. It's a Poetry Prize London. Poetry so London Prize.
It would be pounds.
It should be, but they could use the euro. So,
hey, one thing is like Brexit.
Okay, so let's just do a quick calculation. It's £500.
It's £500.
We say money.
5K.
1,000.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a lot of money for poetry.
Yeah.
They don't really pay poetry competitions money now.
Don't they?
But it's in London. Also, let's remember. So that's what they're doing, and I mean,
I'm trying to read the numbers. It's 117,729 rand.
Yeah.
For a poet.
5K.
So if you were South African and you went into it,
17,000 rand.
I might submit something for that.
All of
recognized or not, I might be like.
So did you share that in the group?
No, I'll share it with you. Can you share?
We'll share.
We'll share it on our group.
Yes.
On our work group. But yeah, so that's what we've been up to, and then there's
also the Splash Festival for submissions.
Okay, Splash Festival.
They are closing.
Guys, Tolubuza man. Yes, no man actually Tolubuza. You know, I've never been to the Splash.
How?
Why not?
I've driven past it numerous times.
How?
Numerous times.
That used to be my favorite hangout.
I've never, ever. And there was one point when I was in varsity, I was based in Summerstrand.
I'm sorry about that, guys. I really needed to.
It's okay.
I'm going to do a young.
We're coming back.
Coming back.
Coming back. Hold that thought.
Yo!
So when last time, this flash, I did have the link, because it was a bath link to my website.
Yes.
I don't have a website now.
They took the website down?
They did.
So they create one for the thing for the year.
But it's saying it's like about 2000 and whatever it was. Yeah. So now I need to have I'm just gonna send that Facebook link. Artist applications.
So okay guys, I'm still here. LaMntungwa's coming back. One of the other things we're going to touch on is one of the authors we've previewed, Dube Legacy, the writer of the Hlomo the Wife series. She had a few Instagram posts, right? LaMntungwa's going to do one and I'm going to speak on the other. And the one post was about a story that she'd started late 2021, 2022, where she wrote a book about a man winning the lotto and then embarking on a countrywide journey to find all the women he impregnated and abandoned in his heyday. His plan was to give each child 1 million rand with hope that it make up for him being a deadbeat. But obviously things did not work out the way he thought they would. There's that, and his relationships. Go to her Instagram page, you will see the piece that I just read out. And this was something I was like I still am very keen on reading. I think story-wise it'll be very interesting to see how this would pan out, because a lot of the times people think money is the solution. You know, I can pay my way out of whatever situation I've created for myself. And we forget that relationships, especially either romantic or with your children, don't need money to survive. Do you get what I mean? They generally need you to be present. You know. But the other thing I wanted to find out about this book, because he says about the women he impregnated, it's the number of women I'm very interested to.
Hold on.
How much did he give them?
His plan is to give them 1 million each child. So I'm like, how much money did he win? And how many children does he have?
The story?
Yes.
I missed that.
And look, I'll continue.
I will continue.
So,
but
so for me, and we touched on this when I brought this to your attention, but
yeah,
you know, we think money is a solution, but it's not. It helps. It's a tool more than anything else.
It's a great thing to have.
And it's much more confusing when the dad is alive, because money can be useful in an event of a parent's passing.
Yes.
And then leaving
something
for the children to be able to sustain the lives that he got them used to when he was alive.
Yes.
So,
but I think in this regard, though, it's he never knew, trying to make up for the.
No, he knew. He's going looking for the women he impregnated. He knew he left you with something.
But he didn't have anything at the time.
But
now he's trying to make right.
Again,
whether it's the right move to do is
making right, Joe. I get trying to make right. Yeah? Let's expand on this for a second. I get that.
Yeah.
Right? But my issue / concern, and I believe a lot of guys suffer from this, and people in general. When I say people, I include women in that. There are men that want to be present, yeah? But because they cannot financially provide, for whatever reason, whether one is unemployed or barely making ends meet, whatever the case might be, the relationship between him and the child's mother becomes strained and stressed, there's no access to the child if you can't provide financially. Of which we always come back to the thing that a child needs their parent more. But the way society is set up,
parents, was the cases where umntana ehlala kulo mama.
Yes.
So then that starts to build up in the expectations.
Yes.
They're supposed to give me something.
I don't know. But okay, we'll park that.
But that's the reality.
That's a very big reality. But we're gonna run out of time. Not done
we'll get to that. I wanna add on this because certain things are cultural. We need to be aware of that. For example, I don't understand, even though I know it's part of black culture, right? You have a baby. I come to see your baby. The expectation is I'm coming with a gift. Why? It's your baby, bruh.
You don't.
Why?
They didn't come to Jesus without nothing, so...
Your baby's not Jesus, bruh. What are you talking about?
But every baby is special, so I guess the thing is, it's that thing about wishes.
What about wishes?
You generally want to give somebody something good, the intentions. I feel like that whole giving the baby thing can go sideways because we all know that they're the aunts who are on the other side of the line, and then you have the aunts who are all on the very kosher side of the line. So when you're what are your intentions when you're leaving this gift is my question.
Why must you bring a gift is my question. My question remains, why must you bring a gift? Zobonumnana, we're happy for you. Yeah? I believe in Western culture.
Yeah.
Which says?
Hold on. I believe in Western culture. The principle of bringing a gift would be just out of your own generosity, not necessarily seen as a requirement. Nah? In black African society, it is a requirement, not a gesture of generosity.
No, I hear you.
And that's my issue, but why am I being forced now?
Gifting, which is nice. In the black community,
okay, but
that's where I'm going.
No, this is very true, right? But so I've had this conversation with an older granny who's like one of my besties.
Okay.
And I was going to go see a friend's kid, and I didn't have anything, but I took a R1 coin because I was like, my intention is, and where stereotypes are concerned in African culture,
right?
White coins are seen as prosperity, and white coins are actually silver coins for everybody who doesn't know. So I was saying I might not have the riches to give you like an exorbitant gift at the moment.
Yes.
But my intention of giving, and I explained my intention as well to the mom, because the granny, when I said, I was like, I don't have to like go, but you can go with like a sunlight bar, because in our time, in her time, they had the nappies you washed, so it went a long way.
Yes.
And the thing about having a newborn is they go through things so quickly.
They don't grow, they explode.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
So when somebody gives you like nappies when they come see you, that's a gift you can use.
I get that.
Right, hold on. So I was like, okay, my intention is I don't have a sunlight bar, but I'm taking a R1 coin or a R2 coin because I want to say this is me putting in the first offering into the coffers of the wealth that I wish upon your life.
Okay.
Right? So this was an intentional gift and prophecy of money attraction into the child's life. Because more often than not, we speak about favor on a person's life in terms of wisdom, but we hardly ever wish wealth.
Right.
And activate it in some sorts. And because we're Africans, contextually speaking, there's a particular activation and currency to things, right? There's weight and a practicality to it. If I light a candle and I give you this R1 coin, because my intentions go so much further, they're prayers, and therefore, and that was my intention around. I was like, okay, I hear the gifting, but because I'm intentional, I don't want to just give you a gift. I want to give you a gift, but also speak life upon.
I get that.
I
get that.
I'm not sure how it started with us, but again, I'm going to say maybe, perhaps.
I have my own theory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think, like most things, started as good intentions. The same way you guys have a kitchen party, baby showers.
I don't like those.
It's not about liking or not. It started with good intentions. But okay, you've got the baby's here now. Because the other thing you need to remember, I don't think baby showers was something our parents did.
Okay, fair enough.
Because you must also remember, culturally, is no of utenga imbahla yomdana engekabikho.
And
was
this is
not
why I keep
the
saying
norm.
Baby showers aren't my thing.
Hold on. Again, good intentions. We have that thing where don't buy the clothes before the child is here. Something might happen, you lose the baby now. You've got these things that are going to haunt you or whatever. Just saying, I could be wrong. So in my mind, the good place it would have come from is I'm helping you with your child, either with Ibasha, all of these things, right? Kaloku, hear me out.
Yeah.
That's what I think where it started as a good intention. Now it has become a requirement.
Like all things, we get used to it.
And in Goku, you organize my baby shower. When you're pregnant, I'm expected to organize your baby
Yes.
shower. And
okay.
Tricky. Now that it's just
I love this conversation, but
okay.
We're going to digress.
We've been digressed.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to nip it in the bud.
Yeah. We'll continue this
offline. We'll continue, not necessarily offline. We'll create another day for these kinds of conversations.
Right.
We have digressed, and I'm afraid we're going to run out of time.
Okay.
For this particular day.
One thing about gifting, the example here for the coin and what it means to you. I'm more of who believes in creating things with my own hands. And there was this season of my life when I was giving people something that's either handmade or written by me. I noticed how much people don't appreciate that. So I stopped. Because I want often the 10 worms.
Yes.
And if you don't have money, then it means you didn't give them anything. The sad thing now is when those very people
want those
remember
things.
that now. Yeah. And that motive will is gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different note, but noted.
Yes. Very digressed. Okay. So back to Dube.
Yes.
So secondary to...
There's a second extract.
Secondary to that, I'm not, but I'm sure you can find it on the gram, because this has also been found on the gram, and this one was on the 4th of March, and what it said is, he never was the solver, he was the fixer. How his logical and reasonable ways were failing, and so the mentally unstable black sheep of the family had come back and used his ways. But he chose to drive his youngest brother and 2 of his eldest brother's sons into animals we were all born to do. I look at him, my eyes angry and my forehead creased. He must think I am angry at what is happening here, but I'm angry at him for dying, for doing something he knows very well no revenge and no amount of wealth can heal us from. He broke us, destroyed us, and opened a space in a circle that had always been intact. What's wrong with you? Why are you looking at me like that? And I get even more mad because is he whispering? He must as well as be loud so that these ghosts understand what he did to us. To tell them to torment him. To him behind when they finally... So the second bit of this extract is a bit hard to read because some of the words are hidden.
It's trying not to give away too much.
Yes, but the last bit is fuck you, Baba, fuck you for choosing yourself.
Which, the last bit then says to me, because when you were reading it, right, the mind was like, who's this? Is it Klomu? If the closing is F you, Baba, it's a child. I think.
Yes, you could think that, but you can also remember that, in particular cultures, even women call their spouses Baba. Yeah. So we can't quite necessarily assume who's written it. But what does strike me is how we had a book called The End, and there's surprise!
Surprises aside, one of two things to me. Either it's a supply and demand situation, or it's something else came over her, like, we could take it this way, as a different avenue for the story. But we haven't read those last 3 books, so
yes,
I'm just speculating at this point.
So we've read now 3 of the 6.
Yes.
And we have moved into...
We're going to have a day, not in the not so distant future, where we talk about the infamous...
Inspired by...
Yes. Tell novella.
Tell us something.
Yeah. Tell a lie. Tell a lie.
Woohoo! Okay.
That thing.
That was deep.
No.
That was deep.
Yeah, okay.
Look, it's not deep. I don't want us to go into it because this thing is coming.
It's coming, ne?
So I would rather us park this.
Okay.
It's that thing that you normally tell me. When we prepare our reviews. And
let's hold
this
for
the show. So what we are going to talk about is another interesting read.
Came out round about the same time.
That is of the first era of the diaries that
the Facebook diaries
on Facebook, and it's the era where Mahlomu came out. Dube blew the gasket on those diaries, and this is where the wife series comes into play.
Yes.
So the next big one was by LaMntungwa, and that was called the Dube Legacy.
Yes.
Oh my God. But I'm going to do a little bit for you. I want to tell you who LaMntungwa is a little bit. I did a bit of digging. And LaMntungwa is from Enutu. Is from KwaNutu.
Right.
Started writing at age 12. She started writing short stories that were performed as drama pieces. And in 2015, she started pursuing her passion of creating her own world and started stories on Facebook and then moved to visionary writings. and she is the author of quite a number of books. If you go on Visionary Writings, Visionary Writings is one of those apps that I really love, much like Facebook, where I read locally produced content. And that screams of characters that are very relatable to you and I. Some of the things that you read on there give you insights into different cultures, how things go and play, how to, So I'm going to now
read an extract, I believe.
Really?
Yes.
Now?
Yeah.
Seriously?
I don't know why you're huffing and puffing. Like,
seriously? Okay.
You knew this was coming.
Alright, I'm being silly. I'm being tons of silly. I'm just waiting for it to open up a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not going to say from which part of the book this is, but I'm pretty sure you're going to...
If they've read it, they'll
know. They'll know.
Those who haven't read it...
Those who haven't, please go look for it, online. I think she had a bit of it on Visionary Writings.
But if you just Google the Dube Legacy... Yes,
you should be able to find it.
You'll find the PDF of it.
Somewhere. Yeah. So, our supervisor called out. I rushed to him. Me, yes. You have a delivery. I laughed. Me, a delivery? Come on. He gave me a KFC paper bag. I opened it. Dunked wings. What the? He gave me a gift bag. I opened it. Cell phone. I opened it trembling. They confusing me with somebody else. I switched the phone on. Not this guy. I laughed. What kind of selfie is this? He had his picture as the wallpaper. Lanziger screamed. Is this the real S9?
I want to say something about that, but continue.
Me, looks like it, but why would he? I laughed even harder when I thought about it. I told him I don't have a phone, but the wings, oh no, he was eavesdropping on our conversation.
Yes. So, when I read this, and was like, is this a real S9? I'm like, yo, this thing is from long ago. yo.
Yes, because it is.
Like, it really put it into context, the time frame that it was written.
Yes, because the S9 was like the biggest thing back then.
At that time. So it really is like, oh, okay, this is... The law is long and far.
Yes.
But...
so the Dube Legacy.
The Dube Legacy. My impressions of it, right?
Yeah.
When I read it, it felt like a mix of more than one thing.
Yeah.
Right? It gave me elements of the TV show Power. It gave me elements of the Hlomo books.
Okay.
It had a lot of... just reading it for me, it felt like a number of different pieces being put together to make this story. It wasn't not, and one of the problems, especially after reading Hlomo, is when you read a book like this, you start seeing similarities. Like, oh, okay, it's the Zulu family, but now instead of 8, they are 4. My mind started doing those comparisons.
Also taxi drivers, I guess.
No, they have a construction company. Bona.
Yes.
Well, of which can go.
But I think what gives it is the ruralness and the going home a lot, because theirs is centered in the beginning quite a bit about, there's the homestead. It's also centered around how they started their money.
This is the thing. Now, outside of how they started their money, right, I just want to finish my thought. The whole family.
Yes.
Protect your family.
Oh, okay. So let me give
that sentiment was very
Shomu.
Yes.
Okay.
For
so
me.
how the book starts is, I'm gonna give a bit of background. The book starts where there are twin brothers who are at loggerheads with each other. Haven't seen eye to eye since one of them's wife passed. And their not being together consequently broke the family, the siblings apart, and the one person who was able to put them together was their sister.
Their younger sister, yes.
So they eventually all come together and different things start unfolding from that moment onwards. And they meet partners, they meet different things. We then get painted the various character pictures. But there's an interesting thing about this time frame of Facebook Diaries. Right? We did a review on Daria Terekinza.
Yes. Love that.
You know,
Strawberry Drops.
Strawberry Drops,
Yeah.
There's something about black people startups where they, you know, if you're a taxi driver and you want to come up, you have to go to heists or you have to enter the crime scene.
Yes, there's no clean black business. It all has an undertone of this money came about in underhanded dealings, and now we've just created this facade.
Mind you, I still read those, and it's still a narrative.
This is the problem about it being a narrative, for me personally. No? I so wish that, as much as this might sound like I want wholesome stories, which I do, I so wish we could step away from that. Black people are not one-dimensional.
Yeah.
That's my only
thing about it.
Because even here, you
this one has a past,
but you get glimpsed that they were involved in criminal activities when they were younger.
Yeah.
The brothers. And it's like, why? Why must there be crime? Why must they?
But this one is very interesting because they came from a family that could provide.
Yes.
But also, this moves me back into something that I had a conversation with a very prominent someone in society. And, you know, we're at a workshop or something. And we're speaking about Amazulu. And every time in literature they come up as violent people, there's always wars, and it's always you know, for writing books, you'll find a story. There'll be a story Samakinza on Amakosa, but the level of violence in the Xhosa story
is not
as portrayed as the level of violence in the Zulu story, right? And so I was saying to someone a couple of years ago, I was like, I kind of understand why they get portrayed in that manner.
Okay, why so? Why do you?
They're descendants of Ushak and Amabuto, and
so you think it's just a continuation of that?
Not holistically, and for a lack of, please don't chastise us. Okay. This is just interpretation. And also because at the time I was saying this, there was a video Yamapina on Spoo's podcast. And Spoo asked the guy, just tell me what you were saying. And the guy said, and I was saying, I don't think it's a level of violence, but remember, you have to remember that our ancestry lives in our blood DNA. And abantu bamabuto were protectors. They had spears. We live in an era of guns. So therefore they've carried over that level of protection. Not everything is innocent, and not everyone maybe was descendant of that. Some people have adopted a culture of violence, and this is across all cultures. It's not
right. It's not inherently.
It's not inherently. But coming back to AmaZulu, because the story centers around Zulu men.
Yes.
Who come from a rural background, but who've made it, and they've started companies, and they do different things, and how they raise intergenerational wealth. But even when they speak about the homestead, when they eventually do, you kind of ask yourself, why would you do this? Because already your homestead is so large.
I don't want to say greed, but let's
yeah. Look, I don't know whether it's greed or there's this constant need for more.
Yes.
Sometimes it's not always greed, but it's just once you start, you can't stop.
One of the things, it's not even, I don't want to equate it to success. No.
Yeah.
But one of the things when building something,
yes.
Because here one of the main driving forces that I picked up is, as much as the name says Dube Legacy, they are trying to build a legacy, something that they can hand over to their kids and generational wealth, as it were. And one of the problems that one comes across when doing such, I believe, is you have to acquire a lot of things to be able to pass things on.
Yes.
And
how quickly or how slowly you do that.
Yeah. Like there's not to spoil the story, but there's a moment where the former associate, now arch nemesis, is trying to
poach, steal, big borrow
the company, and
don't know what it is,
happening, and they're like, whatever happens, they're not losing the company. Their parents worked for this, and they're going to leave it. So they're entrenched in that thing of legacy. But one of the things that I took out of this is as much as you've got one Kulegan, so you've got the older twin, the younger twin is basically the same person, just different variations,
personality types.
Yes. You've got one that's they are both capable of doing the same thing, except one is a little more controlled.
The brutality as well,
Yeah. They're the ones who are spearheading this thing.
Okay.
And the younger two are just basically being dragged along.
Yeah, but the pasta gets a bit interesting there.
Yes. I think when it comes to...
But also when we have his backstory, we realize that he was also within...
Yes. But this is the thing, and I said this earlier, and sorry, I've digressed from where I was going there now. But anyways, the writing, when I started reading, it was interesting. It took my brain a minute to figure out, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And when you were doing her bio, she wrote things that would be later turned into dramas, this, that, and the other. I was like, that's right. The writing style makes sense now.
Yeah.
It was one of the things that I also said that I could see this being turned into a telenovela of sorts, because even the writing style is giving
before Shlomo
dialogues.
I don't think I would have thought Shlomo would have gotten it first. I think I always wanted this to be a telenovela, purely because having read these diaries, I always was like, this one is very interesting because it delves into a lot of Black history, things that are done, and I was like, it gives off a whole lot more layers. And again, the thing for me that would be nice is if people were to honor it the way it is. Not want to overdo, underdo. Like, try to just get it just right.
See, I think this is one of the problems. If we're talking about adaptations,
yes,
of any written work, something we spoke on earlier off camera, it's just a quality about movies. Yeah. When you're creating something for TV or for a movie, I believe it's always best to have people who like the source material.
Okay.
Versus getting a director who's not invested in the story. Because, for example, like Marvel, right? When they are creating a new movie or something, the guys, whether it's be the actor, the director, know the characters.
Okay.
They're invested in the story before the acting and storytelling begins.
Yeah.
You know, what I think tends to happen sometimes in some of these adaptations is that I have a budget, I have a production company, you're a good director who did whatever, come do this thing. You know, you're handed the script, and I don't know, I might be speaking out of place, out of turn, whatever, but I don't necessarily feel the same with the Klomo situation, that the director or whoever was involved in the editing was close to the source material. Like, no, I want to keep this.
Yes, not true.
You know, they basically was like, okay, we've got a winning formula in making telenovelas. We'll just adapt portions of this to fit in that formula. No, it's not a train wreck, bruh. It's
because
I'm going to repeat it at another stage again. I'm going to say the same words. Yeah. But coming back to Lenry Choyaba, guys, if it were to be done, try and keep it as close.
Yeah, no, look, and for me it's like really scary how you enjoy a really, really good story. Like, I really enjoy the Dube Legacy, and the Dube Legacy went on and created a Dube Legacy Reloaded, right?
Reloaded, okay, I haven't gotten that part.
So yeah, there's another, and it carries on.
Okay.
So this is why it would really make sense as a.
Okay.
And it enters into. It enters into African mythology as well, like particular things, black people cultural beliefs.
Yeah, we had beliefs before there was Christianity, but in this way,
yes, you know,
because people fight.
But the kind where, you know, the story. There's a story of a queen who was captured by white people. They were fighting with the British. Yeah. I think it was the British. I'm not quite sure which colonizers it was, but
British sounds about
somewhere
right.
in Africa.
Okay.
And this is a story that is told. I think one of my encounters with the story was on Mtsuki Mazwai's former Unpopular Opinion podcast before the entire drama.
Yes, before she lost it and whatnot.
Yes. You know. And she had this lady, I keep forgetting her name. I know her, it's just not coming to, and my apologies for that. But I do want to relate. So the story is about how this queen requested to go into their hut.
Okay.
Right? And she said, when they were trying to capture her, and she was like, listen, there are things that I'd like to perform before I go. Give me one last time to speak to my ancestors. And so they allowed her to go in. Went in there, and when she came out in the form of a panther.
I think we've spoken on this before.
Yes, you know. And so it's very interesting to have that, and this is what this book does. It touches on similar things, not exactly.
Yeah.
But, and this is what I was like, okay, I really wish I could see this play out. Like, because how dope would it be to have special effects?
Oh, okay.
On a South African abuse, you know,
Okay, going
a South
into
African
the
story.
mysticism and okay.
And looking at mysticism, like for me, it was giving, some of it gives Harry Potter-esque vibes.
Okay, interesting.
Not Harry Potter, but I mean just like
magic and
the magic and the ability but the touching on there's a part where, and this is also very interesting. There's an adopted son.
Yes.
Who is favored by the matriarch of the family who's passed.
Okay.
Right? And she leads him into ukutwasa kwakhe.
Okay.
And he is not a blood relative. But it's so interesting for me for that content to make it onto books, because those things do happen.
Yes.
You do have guides in African spirituality that are not of your bloodline. But if you're an adopted child, these are African conversations. If you raise my child and we're together, and by the way, we're not. Please, this is not a...
How do you get there now?
I'm making an example.
I know you're making an example.
I'm making an example.
Just
very segueing.
Like what? Okay,
it is.
Continue.
But it's that thing of, if we were ever to be together or together, and I have a kid, and you raise my kid, and we get married, you take my kid into Inhlandes, right?
Okay.
And
intentionally.
Intentionally, and you perform rites for my kid.
Right.
And my child is recognized, you've adopted my child.
Right.
Your people have an ability to come through because there are things that your family does that happen. And that's the thing that made me really interested. Because I was like, we don't have these conversations as a society. And it was interesting for me to see it in a book on Facebook around 2015.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I get you. John, I hear you loud and clear. But that there are conversations that we need to have on a, not necessarily bigger platform, because Facebook is a big platform, but on a larger scale, in the sense of actually having these conversations versus them being tucked away.
Yeah. So for me it was like very interesting, and I was like, oh wow, this is interesting.
John, it's like the conversation around
African divorce.
That's where I was going exactly. That's like the whole process of how do you divorce?
Yeah, is there a thing called divorce in African culture?
Technically, there isn't. What
we're made to believe is that there isn't, but technically there is a thing that you can do. But they don't tell. You see, in African cultures, and I think possibly in a lot of cultures, because Muslims also don't really like divorce per se.
Yes.
It's in particular cultures, certain things are frowned upon. So things like cutting off, because in an African context, you would go, again, you marry me, I go to your home, they showcase me in front of your family's altar to your people, and I do certain things that are done in your family. I then have taken on your ancestors.
There's a reason why as much as that's not what today's about, this conversation, but I've always had this thing about, we get married, you divorce, you marry somebody else.
Whose ancestors recognize you?
Yes. People who've been married more than once.
You belong to both. And those people fight over you.
Yes.
Because you've introduced people to each other.
Yes.
Your first marriage is considered your truest marriage, one, because that's where you first discovered.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where you discovered marriage, right? And then we get a piece of white paper that says we're no longer together. But we didn't go back to where we started
to
with our
undo
friend.
the thing we did.
Yes. So therefore, then we're still together.
It's like it's like the whole thing on,
because what marriage is, before there were papers.
Because the paper marriage is a contract.
Yes.
The paper marriage, it is a lawful contract. In my opinion, the traditional
is ritualistic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is another contract on its
That's
own
a covenant.
that has its own T's and C's.
Uh-huh.
You know? So you break the one contract
and leave the other.
Yes, and then go and open another contract
with
this one pending,
the other one.
still going.
And these are the things, you know. Interestingly enough, I had a conversation earlier with someone this morning, and the conversation was around relationships.
Okay.
And I was saying, you know, dating over a particular age, there are things you need to ask. If somebody's been married, you need to ask your partner, how far did you cut the ties?
Yes.
Because
how far did you go?
Yes.
And
how far did you cut? Because I can get affected
by those
contracts.
Yes.
Because if you were married to somebody else and your guides recognize that person, they might not bless me.
Yes. They might be like, who's this person?
They might not.
Where's that person?
They might not bless my womb. And I might not be able to bear fruits for you, even though maybe perhaps my womb is fairly capable. And these are the things that make African spirituality so interesting.
But I think we should.
We segued quite a lot there.
Yes.
But it's
I see,
you know, it's a very interesting conversation that I think, you know, when you're a reader and you're now reading, this generation is very lucky. We're now reading content by us for us.
Yes.
So if you didn't get it, Guinea, because Guinea, maybe perhaps you're not traditionalists, you will read content that will open you up to traditional elements. They might not be yours culturally, right? But they will open you up into, and this is what I found about these books, and this is why I love them. I've been opened up to cultural practices that I was not aware of other cultures.
Yes.
Because I've grown up Xhosa, so I understand it's a Xhosa culture in and around me. It's Xhosa people, but I now understand partially some Sotho things that are done, not fully because I'm not fully. I haven't grown up Sotho, and I haven't grown up enough around a lot of Sotho people, even though we have them in the Eastern Cape.
Yes, but they act Xhosa. We're not going to go into that.
But that's because of environment and where they are.
Yes.
So, you know, we adapt a lot. I mean, a lot of people are not Xhosa, and a lot of people have adapted because they've intermarried and.
There's I'm going to send you this thing. There's a doctor, I forgot his name, so I came across him on TikTok the other day, who talks about Xhosa, the history of our other Xhosa.
Yeah.
And Oti, the one thing I remember is like, as a nation, our thing was, in our conquering, we amalgamate whoever we conquered into our culture. That's why there are these situations, i.e., you were amalgamated into the culture in a
yes, but also, you know, and it's very interesting that we're speaking about this because...
But this is not what today's about.
No, it isn't.
This is not what
it isn't.
This is a conversation
for another day.
Yes.
But
because we're not even on books anymore.
No, what I'm going to say on that is it's a very interesting thing, yes.
Right.
Yes, some was through war and some was willingly because they were running away from.
Yes.
So in order to be protected, amalgamating, you know, and some wasn't even war. They came and they liked and they wanted to integrate and feel comfortable in the society, and so they chose. You know, some was pro-choice. And I think that's what differentiated this part of South Africa in terms of what the guy was saying, is that it was also pro-choice. You were given you can amalgamate, you know, you can become one, or we can cut off a section and this will be your section. We have an entire section, Epai, called Ebasutwin.
Yes. And on that bombshell, because I don't think we should be continuing.
No.
Because Dube Legacy, go get it, read it.
Read the book.
Read the book.
In fact, if you can't find Dube Legacy, read a lot of her other works. She's written quite a number of books that are really beautiful, really traditionally inspired, and by traditional I mean they consider your locals being your Zulus, it's ethnicity.
Yeah.
It's ethnicity books, and they're not tribalist in any way. They're just really beautiful in terms of how she tells a story, how she opens you up into cultural dynamics.
Right.
And I mean, we have this thing of often thinking that cultural dynamics are across different cultures, and sometimes it is also within the same culture, because different households.
A saying is fun. Exactly.
Yes. So with that, it has been a very beautiful day on the coffee table.
Yes, it went way better than we thought, I think.
Yeah.
The show we had the show went.
This is the unscripted version.
We had things to talk. We touched on the things we wanted,
Welcome
and
to
then
the unscripted.
We entered.
Yeah.
And this, I think.
But this is what makes us, because with every book that we delve into,
it brings.
The thing about it is, it's hard to review content and not speak about the effects of the contents within, in terms of relation to our society.
Especially reading African stories.
Yes. So we have been blessed.
Yes.
To be able to tell our story and to relate to the things that we hear. Hopefully soon we can start looking at music.
Oh, that would be very interesting. I think not in the sense of just jamming out to music on its own.
But music is literature.
No, I get it. Like, John, before we end, because we're ending.
Yeah.
There's one artist whose first album is an Amapiano album.
Yeah.
What's this kid's name now? Because the album's called LaMntungwa, I think is the name of the album.
Okay.
The guy who sings, oh gosh, tongue tied, who sings I'm 1,000.
Don't know him, but
anyways, his album, right?
I
listened to it in 2021, 2022, somewhere there, and the entire thing is him basically prophesying over his life.
Yeah.
He's from the first track to the last track. All he's doing is saying, "This is what is going to happen. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
This is how this." Literally, I remember listening to it. I was like, "Wow." One of the problems is that when people consume music, we don't always listen to what is actually being said.
Because sometimes there are people who listen to the beat, because that speaks to them.
Yes.
And the message of the actual beat can be extremely different to the message portrayed by the actual lyrics.
Yes.
And this is the interesting thing if we're going to look at music as a literature source.
Yes. It's like, for example, the song Iplan.
Yeah.
Right? That song can be seen as a love story.
Yeah.
Right? But it can also be seen as a hardship story.
Yeah.
At the same light, because he's saying, like, I don't have it now.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put something I'm gonna make a plan. But the way we dance to it, you would think
like
it is a joyous song.
Musical thing to this podcast to end it.
Yeah.
Please release the music.
Well, yeah, we'll
figure out something for you guys.
Together. Yeah.
We'll take a listen and we'll tell you how best the session was meant to have been. But yeah, so
otherwise, it's been good. I'm Dude, she's LaMntungwa, and this was
the coffee table.
And we're done.